Hello and welcome everybody to a brand new video. Now this video is starting up not in a good way. Right now it's 2:48 p.m. Moscow time, and I have found out that Navalny died in a prison in Russia. Now, if you don't know who Navalny was, he was one of the biggest opposition to the current regime in Russia, where he has made a lot of videos about corruption in Russia, about the government officials that were taking money and building houses without money. He was also poisoned and transferred to Germany, where he fully recovered and did some investigations there. Then he realized that he needs to do his work on being an opposition leader in Russia and return back, where he was immediately arrested in the airport and sent to jail. Now, the news is that the Federal Penitentiary Service of the Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous District reports that politician Alexei Navalny died in a colony, which he was. Now, if you don't know what sort of a colony he wasn't in one of those American ones where it's actually not that bad, because at the start he was actually imprisoned in Moscow, and then he got sent out to a prison known as the Polar Wolf Colony. I'm going to read a little bit about that right here. It's considered one of the toughest prisons in Russia. Its inmates are convicted of grave crimes. Winters are harsh there, with the temperatures due to drop to about minus 28 degrees Celsius. And for you Americans, that's 18 degrees Fahrenheit. It is absolutely freezing conditions and very hard to live a normal life there. Now, Navalny's chief strategist was commenting about this prison, saying it's almost impossible to get to this colony. It is almost impossible to even send letters there. This is the highest possible level of isolation from the world. So he was put in a place where the isolation is just outstanding. It's at the polar circle. You can't really get mails there. It's just very, very bad. Navalny, this is a little story about Navalny. He's been behind bars since January 2021, when he returned to Moscow after recuperating in Germany from nerve agent poisoning that he blamed on the Kremlin. Before his arrest, he campaigned against corruption and organized major anti-Kremlin protests. He has since received 3 prison terms and spent months in isolation in penal colony number 6 for alleged minor infractions. Russian authorities view Navalny and his supporters as extremists with links to the CIA. How surprising. Like I said in my previous videos, anyone who is against the current government in Russia is somewhat apparently associated with CIA. And they say they're seeking to destabilize Russia. So the opposition is here to destabilize Russia. Before his arrest, he campaigned against corruption and organized major anti-Kremlin protests. Now, this was and is one of the worst prisons you can get to. That's like the Siberian type of gulag stuff I've been talking about for a very long time, and it is absolutely horrible. Now, let's talk about the news. On 2nd 16, 2024, in a correctional colony number 3, convicted Navalny felt ill after a walk, almost immediately losing consciousness. The medical staff of the institution immediately arrived and an ambulance team was called. All necessary resuscitation measures were carried out, which did not give positive results. The doctors of the emergency medical service pronounced the convict dead, the department claims. The state-owned RT channel, citing a source, claims that Alexei Navalny has a blood clot. Navalny's lawyer, Leonid Solovyov, declined to comment on the information provided by the Federal Penitentiary Service on the decision of the politician's family. According to Solovyov, the lawyer visited Navalny on Wednesday, 2 days ago. Everything was fine then, Solovyov told the Novaya Gazeta, which is the Novaya newspaper. This is what Dmitry Peskov commented about this. As far as we know, in accordance with all applicable rules, the Federal Penitentiary Service is engaged in all inspections, clarification. This does not require any instruction because there's already a set of rules on this subject the Federal Penitentiary Service is guided by. Also, Dmitry Peskov said to Putin that Navalny has died. Now, the question that I'm having right now, would you guys consider this to be another murder? Do you think that he was poisoned once again? Because isn't it a bit weird that just before the elections, stuff like this happens? This is the biggest opposition leader that we had in Russia for a very long time, and he has suddenly died in a very harsh prison in the polar circle. You know what, guys? I'll tell you one thing. This is horrible. This is a big, big loss because he was actually showing the Russian population on what really is happening with corruption in this country. There's a lot of things we obviously will never find out, but in my opinion, there is something fishy going on in that situation, and obviously we're going to be getting a lot more news about this, but we will never really know the truth. We will always have assumptions on what has happened to a person that was completely fine and then dropped dead in a prison before the elections in Russia. Unbelievable. If you want to stay tuned to the Russian state news, but you actually want to read it to get an idea of what the Russians are getting themselves into their head, you could also check out my news website, which the links are going to be in the description, where we take the Russian articles, translate them into English, and post it out there for you so you could read whatever the Russian government state media is telling to the citizens of Russia. Rest in peace, Navalny. You have shown a light to the Russian population, and I think there's going to be people walking out mourning Navalny's death because he had a lot of fans. He had a lot of people following his path. He had a lot of people that really wanted to change inside of Russia. But unfortunately, we have this great loss. I don't know what to say. You know, when things like this happen, you really lose faith in what's going to be happening here in Russia. Really. I have no idea how to comment on this. There's just nothing much we could do. I mean, this is, I think, is a perfect example of what the government is trying to tell all the opposition leaders right now. If you're going to be fighting with him, you guys are going to be sent to prison. Something like what happened to Navalny is going to happen to you. When you guys comment on why do Russian people don't stand up for a change, you guys could see that there's a small minority. Well, actually not a small minority. I'd say there's like 40% of people that really want to make a change in Russia. And yes, they would have loved to stand up and really took actions into their own hands. But when they see examples of Navalny, they think it's not really worth standing up, getting sent to prison, and suddenly dropping dead on the prison floor. I also wanted to add that, don't you guys think this is Putin's presidential campaign? Because during his campaign, all of the opposition candidates were completely wiped off. There's absolutely no opposition. This is huge repression right now going on in Russia. Bills on seizure of property from all foreign agents and people who speak out against the government. Could you imagine what is going to happen when Putin is going to once again win the election and get a sit for another 6 years controlling this country? I am very scared to know what is going to happen, and I'm just afraid. I'm honestly afraid for the future of Russia. It's unbelievable what is happening just before the election. Guys, I had to post this out for you so you would know the news. Thank you very much for watching my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like the videos, comment on this video on what you think actually happened to Navalny. See you later, guys, and have a good day.